Okay, so today we will be working through some review over most of what we're going to do today is going to be using an online calculator called Desmos. So I put a link in Schoology, or you can just go to desmos.com, use the graphing calculator. And so again, we're going to start at the bottom of the notes. So the very bottom left-hand corner says solve each system by graphing. And so when you're solving the system by graphing, you graph the two lines and find out where they intersect each other at. And so with the first one, it's really user-friendly. What I can do is I can just plug in each of the equations, so you can just type it in, y is equal to negative 2x minus 1. And then you can click down and get another line, go y is equal to x plus 5. And so what will happen is in gray there in the middle of the graph, they show that where the intersection's at, so you can click it, it'll show it in black. And so I know that my answer for question number 1 is going to be the ordered pair negative 2, positive 3. So I jump over here, and then I write the ordered pair negative 2, positive 3. Oops. Same thing with the second one. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go ahead and graph both those lines. So the first one, y is equal to 1/3. You can either do 1 and then the backslash and 3. If you have the keyboard open down here, you can use the division button. The most important thing is to make sure that you press the right arrow to get out of the denominator before you put your x there, and then minus 3. Second one, the nice thing about this is you don't have to get y by itself to graph these. So you can type it in just like that, and it'll give you the intersection. It'll graph both of them, so it'll be the ordered pair 3, negative 2. Over here, it's ordered pair 3, negative 2. Go ahead and flip over to the back of the first page. Going to be graphing inequalities. The easiest way for this to work is you can graph it using an equal sign first. So remember that all inequalities are graphed just like a regular equal sign, so you can get your ordered pairs. So I can go y is equal to x minus 7. I can hit this gear right here, click on it, and then it'll give me the table button, and then I can see my ordered pairs there that I can go ahead and graph. So I'm going to graph those ordered pairs right there. And then once I have my ordered pairs on my graph drawn, then I can go ahead and put in my inequality sign. It shows me that it's a dotted line, and then it shows me that I'm shading above it. So when I go over here, I'm going to graph. So these are the ordered pairs. It starts at negative 7 and goes up one, right one. It is a dotted line, so I'm going to do a dashed line. And then I know I'm going to shade above, so I'm going to shade on this side of the line. So there's what my graph should look like. I can do the same exact thing for the second one. So I can go over to graph them as equal signs first. So y is equal to 1.5x plus 1. And then on the bottom, I can go y is equal to 4x plus 3. Again, I'm doing an equal sign because I want them to, I want to be able to get my table for my values. And do the same thing for the second one. So there's my ordered pairs. Once I get my ordered pairs, then I can go ahead and I can graph shading and figure out whether it's a dotted or solid line. So when I do that, again, I can switch these back. This is a greater than or equal to sign, and then this one is a less than sign. Again, you can do the same thing. You can find your inequalities down in the bottom right-hand corner if you pull up the keyboard, or you can just use the greater than, less than signs that are on your keyboard. So here I'm going to actually change the color so we can see this better. Go red and green. And so I've got a dotted line and a solid line. And so I can see that my shading is overlapping where the green and red are mixing. So if I look at it, it's going to be this piece right there. That's where my shading's overlapping at. And so when I graph this thing, again, I'm going to, let's see. So there's my 4. There's my solid line. Should look something like that. My dotted line, let's see. Yeah. Should look, this is my dotted line. And then the shading's overlapping in this piece right here in that region. So that should be the only piece that I shade is where the shading's overlapping at. Next one's down, really easy. For this first one, I got f of x is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. We want to find the roots or zeros. If you could, underneath where it says zeros and roots, go ahead and write solutions and write the words x-intercept as well. Those words are all interchangeable when you're talking about any sort of graph. The roots, zeros, solutions are all the same thing. It's where the graph crosses the x-axis. So when I do this, and f of x is the same thing as y. So you could write this as y is equal to, or you could actually write it as f of x is equal to x, the squared button you can do the caret button for, or you can use this keypad to do this button right here, the a to the b power, will put you back into the exponent, and then you can put your squared in there. Make sure you get out by pressing the right button on your keypad. Go plus 2x minus 3. And again, there's my graph, and then there are my two solutions, the ordered pairs, -3, 0, and 1, 0. So I know my two solutions, my roots, my zeros for this equation are going to be -3 and 1. So I can write underneath this x is equal to -3 or 1. I can do the same thing with the bottom problem, or the one right underneath of it, find the vertex and minimum or maximum for each function. And so I can go back here and I can still go f of x or y, whichever one you want to put in, -3x squared plus 24x plus 10. Sometimes you can't see the graph very well, so you can zoom out a couple, and you can also drag to get to where you want to be. Right there's the top point. You have to click it twice to get it to stay on there. So the top of my graph is 458. That's going to be a maximum because it's a tippy top point. So max and then 458. Okay. There we go. The first problem, so underneath where it says quick concept check, this one is just figuring out which graph matches. So I can go ahead and plug that in. Whoops. There we go. There we go. I can go in here and I can change this. So it says h of t, so h parentheses t is equal to -16t squared plus 38. So I get a graph looking something like this. And it's trying to figure out which one fits. If I find out where it intersects where the top and where the graph crosses the x-axis, I can see that it crosses the x-axis at 1.5 about, and then its top is at 38. And so if I look at these, answer choice D is going to be the right one because it's going to meet the x-axis at about 1.5, and it meets the y-axis up at about 38. Number 2 right below it, solve the system of equations using the graph. Again, just graph those two equations. So y is equal to x squared, and then y is equal to 3x. On the graph, I can find two solutions, so the two answers will be the ordered pairs 0, 0, and 3, 9. So put in here my two ordered pairs 0, 0, and 3, 9. The number 3, how is the graph different from, so I'm looking at the difference between two graphs, so I can go ahead and graph them each, and then find out why they look different. So 5 caret x plus 2 and then this one is y is equal to 5 to the x. When we look at it, also if you ever need to go back to the original zoom in or zoom out, the original zoom, you can always click this house button on the right hand side, and it'll give you to your original kind of setup. So here, we're going to want to use words like shifted up, down, left, or right. So to get the black line onto the red line, I'm going to take the black line and I'm going to shift it up 2 units. So move it 2 units up, and then that would get the graphs to be on top of each other. Go ahead and flip over to the last page then. Again, with each one of these, when we're looking for finding solutions, it's always going to be where the graph crosses the x-axis. And so with this first one, this 3x minus 12 is equal to 0, I can graph that. I want to actually graph it. Instead of the 0, I want to put it in a y. So I want to go 3x minus 12 is equal to y, because that'll give me a graph. Take out the 0, put in the y, and then just find where it crosses the x-axis. Crosses the x-axis at the ordered pair 4 is 0, so I know that my solution to that equation is x is equal to 4.